So Helldivers just got their new big escalation of freedom update. You know what, guys? I'm gonna be honest. That shit is so ass.
Bro, the way Helldivers is it's not funny, it's actually kind of sad. This game first dropped back in like February. It really felt like it was really solid. It felt like this was the greatest game ever.
Everything they've built will fall! And from the ashes of their world, we'll build a better one!
Your duty is not done, brother! Hold fast your faith!
Now before getting into today's cult meeting, if you enjoyed, leaving a like would be awesome as it gets the video out there, and subscribing will help the channel grow as we are growers and not showers. Alright, so it's shocked to hundreds of thousands of Helldivers across the world that Super Earth has betrayed our trust and has given in to the corporate machine and the galactic titans of the game industry, PlayStation. Now, it's old news by now, but when Sony announced that you had to have a PSN account to play Helldivers 2, the game died faster than Spider-Man in Endgame.
I don't feel so good.
It's a shame, because as a good chunk of you and I were Helldivers ourselves. If you're watching this video, that means you've finally seen the light and decided to let Super Earth burn.
I will burn this planet down before I spend another minute living among these animals.
And no matter what the devs do or try to revive their already corpse of a game, the life it once had is rapidly dwindling after every update. Content creators that are dedicated to Helldiver content are already slowly dwindling in relevance, and you wouldn't be watching this video if you didn't know what the final nail in Super Earth's coffin was. By the glory of the Emperor, it's beautiful! Now, longtime Warhammer 40k fans know that Space Marine has been around far more than Helldivers. And it comes to no surprise that the hype behind Space Marine 2 will be the final nail in the coffin for Helldivers 2. But, the more you look at the trailer, the more you start to realize, these games actually have a lot of similarities. Now, in today's cult meeting, we're actually going to go through Space Marine 2 and how it's basically going to be Helldivers 2 on steroids, and it's mostly going to be a massive hit and most likely Game of the Year, and exactly how similar these games truly are. Now, before we go any further, I'm not as well immersed in the 40k lore as I'd like to be, and I know that I'm going to be triggering a lot of people in this video. Now, I know there's like 50 years worth of lore, so if anyone would like to educate me on said lore or maybe send me a link via the comments below, that would actually be really, really awesome. Helldivers 2 had one of the most unique concepts in the modern gaming landscape. Having the players play expendable soldiers in a galactic war for an Earth that obviously does not value them at all, and having a limited troop count was awesome. Not to mention the stratagems feature that I definitely didn't forget the term for because it's been so long since I've played. Helldivers 2 had the potential to be the next juggernaut of the gaming industry of its time, like Call of Duty was for theirs. But instead, it's about to get run over and shot 27 times and get choked to death by Warhammer 40k's most anticipated sequel, Space Marines 2. By the looks of it, it's going to be an extremely similar case, if not the exact same game as Helldivers. I can already hear the comments. Greg, you insignificant worm, you really think Helldivers and Warhammer 40k Space Marines 2 is going to be similar? Yes, I actually do. With the main difference being 3 Marines instead of 4, and most likely no respawns at all, and if one dies, you have to start the mission from the last checkpoint. And oh my god, the customizability, lord!
Oh, this is gonna be good. You know how long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
Now, I will stand by my statement earlier in the video, as from the looks of it, Space Marines 2 does look like it's going to be a roided up version of Helldivers. But it will not be an exact copy of it. The first thing that will be evident and will be different from Helldivers will be the respawn system. I feel like Space Marine 2 will be a rogue-type campaign co-op shooter, well, like Helldivers again. If one dies, you can either help him back up to his feet so he can finish his duties to the Emperor, or when all of you die because y'all suck balls at killing aliens and evil Space Marines, you start way back at the last checkpoint of the campaign or the co-op mission. It's either that or you fail the mission completely. As for what I've been seeing, there are holograms of planets of where the current mission is currently taking place, a lot like Helldivers. Space Marine 2 could most likely be doing a similar playstyle as Helldivers, where you can select a specific mission and deploy your 3 Space Marines on said mission. But of course, these missions are going to differentiate because we don't want repeating missions here. That would just be lazy game dev. This game has been cooking ever since it was teased back in 2021, and I doubt that the devs are going to slack on us and give us repetitive missions on co-op. Or I could be wrong, it could be just one big ass linear campaign where we follow for 100+ hours and has more than 300+ hours of replayability. I honestly don't mind either, because we all know that the PvP is gonna die in the first week of launch, and everyone who ordered the game will most likely be playing the co-op for the duration of their stay. Besides the customability of Space Marines and the sheer numbers of the quality that it's offering in its gameplay, the lore behind every mission will most likely delve deeper into the Warhammer 40k lore. And as someone who would love to know more about said lore of Warhammer, especially Space Marines, I genuinely hope it isn't some cliche "serve the Emperor for the glory of Super Earth" type beat. As much as I love Helldivers 2 and defending my homeworld, the lore just feels mid. And I get that that's the whole bit, but over time, it does get a little stale after a while. Warhammer, in general, not just Space Marines, have over, again, 50 years of build-up lore. And with Space Marines 2, this could get a lot of people, me included, the chance to sink their teeth into the juicy meat and bones of the lore of Warhammer 40k. Now, the next talking point is not only what I think something that could be what most of us will be spending our hard-earned money on, but it's also where Helldivers have failed to deliver time and time again with every update. Now, it will come to no surprise to anyone that Space Marine 2 is most likely going to be a live service game. With the PvP mode that will be nothing more but a distant memory in weeks' time, the goated GigaChad co-op mode that will definitely be the workhorse of the game. As mentioned before, there will be major customizability to all 6 of the playable classes in the game. That's right, 6 playable classes. You can mix and match armor sets and select a specific faction that you vibe with and maximize your drip for your Space Marine while slaughtering orcs and aliens. Xenos.
These are frame, blue jeans, maybe Prada. This is some sport thing, I don't know.
Not only that, from what I've been seeing online, there's most likely going to be DLC classes to add to your ranks. So the customization is going to be universes larger better compared to Helldivers. Helldivers 2, as much as I love their armors, are extremely limiting to the point where your only customization options are to mix and match the helmets, the body armor, and the capes.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
The game had so much potential to give us the liberty to fully customize our armor sets while we spill automaton blood, but no, instead they come out with more armor classes that fit new missions that they release and expect us to lay down and take the L.
You took everything from me!
Not to mention the amount of weapons that they've nerfed. They added fire resistance armor, a set that players have been begging for. Then they nerf all fire-based weapons.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
Oh sure, we take less fire damage, meaning the bugs and bots take less fire damage as well. Great job, devs, you ruined it.
Oh man, you're just ruining it. Look at my lips, you're ruining it.
Oh, Space Marines? Nah, none of that here. Every bolt gun and every chainsword and battle knife will be buffed to perfection. Fresh for butchering heretics. Everything in Space Marine will be filled with so much testosterone, it will get Arnold going.
Alright, everyone, chill.
Warhammer has the opportunity to go full Doomslayer and say fuck the balance. If you can't take the violence and overpowered guns in co-op and you can't take an army of orcs with just your chainsword alone, then go back to playing Warzone where you belong, Deceiver. This brings us to our final talking point of the cult meeting, which I feel like is an overall deal breaker for Space Marine 2, and is what I feel will be the final nail in Helldivers 2's coffin on the way out of the door, as the big dogs have come back to claim what is rightfully theirs. Warhammer 40k Space Marines hasn't exactly had the best relationship with their fans and board games wise, but the first Space Marine game was such a smash hit that the Space Marine fans and non-Space Marine fans were waiting in anticipation for the sequel to be released. And finally, a decade's worth of wait long due, it was time for the players to come out from their mom's basement, finally take a shower, like I did, and serve the glory of the Emperor once more. Space Marine 2 not only goes way back to a time where PS3s were the latest game console on the market, but it has a reputation far more recognizable to Helldivers. Helldivers' first game, from what I remember or from what I know or seen online, was a top-down shooter a lot like Warhammer was. But they didn't have their first third-person all-out shooter until 2024. Space Marine 1 was one of the best-selling games of its time. What I'm trying to say is, would you buy a game that a good chunk of the game community absolutely adores and is over the moon for hype, or a game that barely anyone knows and gained traction because of TikTok edits?
What did he say?
Yeah, that's right, I said it. The main reason why Helldivers 2 was known and hyped up in the first place were TikToks and YouTube shorts showing off the gameplay of the game, either going, or
Oh, I heard it.
I'm gonna keep it real. This stuff got me so hyped to the point where I was willing to spend the last of my lunch money on campus just to get the game. But speaking of money, would you believe me if I said that Helldivers 2 and Space Marine 2 are the exact same price on Steam right now? You're basically paying for a better, stronger, smarter version of Helldivers that has a well-established career in the gaming industry and will definitely not take your money and give up on co-op and focus on the PvP more. Nah, I'm kidding. I really don't feel like Space Marine 2 will heavily focus on PvP. With the richness of lore that Warhammer 40k has, I doubt that they'll throw away the chance to showcase the world that they've built over the past 5 decades to new players and enjoyers of Space Marines. I still think Space Marines will heavily focus on their co-op mode for the duration of the PS5's and PC's lifespan. As again, Helldivers 2 has proven that you don't need to have PvP to make an amazing game. And judging by my For You page on all my platforms, it seems that the hype train of Space Marines is full speed ahead. Overall, Space Marine 2 is going to be the final nail in coffin for Helldivers 2. And I'm not trashing on Helldivers as much as you think I am. Hell, it was so good we wanted to see Space Marines cross over with the Helldivers. It was that good. But after Sony decided to slap Arrowhead with an ultimatum and sent the studio tucking their tails in between their legs instead of fighting for their community and consistent mid-updates after mid-update, it was only a matter of time for the predecessors to come back from the dead and finally say,
Fine. I'll do it myself.
am I saying Helldivers will be put into the ground permanently? No, I do not believe that. Because if somehow Helldivers can be resurrected like what Fortnite has done over the past few years, which is I highly doubt, who knows, we might get the Space Marine Helldivers crossover event we've all been yearning for. But knowing Sony, the window of opportunity is closing every day. And the time Helldivers has as the #1 most patriotic game is coming to an end. Now, we owe a lot to Helldivers too. It revolutionized the gaming platform, and it introduced a new type of game mode, or at least freshened up the PvE game mode to the point where most games that have similar gameplay mechanics will take inspiration from, and they'll keep in mind that Helldivers has forever changed the gaming landscape. To reiterate a famous quote, Helldivers 2 walked, so Space Marine 2 could run once more. But that's all I got for you in today's episode. Are you as hyped as I am for Space Marine 2? Do you think Helldivers is already a corpse and its former self, and I'm just beating a dead horse at this point? Be sure to let me know down in the comments. Now, I am not sure if I'll be posting this on a Monday next week because my classes do start next week, surprisingly. Or I might be posting on this Friday. It kind of depends on when I feel like I'm going to be posting this. I feel like I'm actually going to be posting this as soon as I'm done editing because by the looks of it, my Fortnite video is slowing down. So, it'll all depend on what goes down this week as we are fast approaching 1,000 subscribers. But if you enjoyed, leaving a like would be awesome, and subscribing will keep you up to date on the latest cult meetings. That's all from me, boy. I hope you have a wonderful day, and in case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.